The Bartle test of gamer psychology is a series of questions and an accompanying scoring formula that classifies players of multiplayer online games into categories based on their gaming preferences. The test is based on a 1996 paper by Richard Bartle and was created in 1999 2000 by Erwin Andreessen and Brandon Downey. Although the test has met with some criticism for the dichotomous nature of its question-asking method, as of October 2011, it had been taken over 800,000 times. The result of the Bartle test is the Bartle quotient, which is calculated based on the answers to a series of 30 random questions in the test, and totals 200% across all categories, with no single category exceeding 100%. For example, a person may score 100% killer, 50% socializer, 40% achiever, 10% explorer, which indicates a player who prefers fighting other players relative to any other area of interest. Scores are typically abbreviated by the first letter of each category, in order of the quotient. In the previous example, this result would be described as a KSAE result. The Bartle test is based on a character theory. This character theory consists of 4 characters: achievers, explorers, socializers, and killers. These are imagined according to a quadrant model where the x-axis represents preference for interacting with other players versus exploring the world and the y-axis represents preference for interaction versus unilateral action. Achievers, also known as diamonds, these are players who prefer to gain points, levels, equipment and other concrete measurements of succeeding in a game. They will go to great lengths to achieve rewards that confer them little or no gameplay benefit simply for the prestige of having it. Single-player appeal to the achiever equals, every game that can be beaten in some way caters to the achiever playstyle by giving them something to accomplish. Games that offer special movies, extra endings, or other bonuses for beating it with a 100% completion rating appeal to achievers. Multiplayer appeal to the achiever equals, one of the appeals of online gaming to the achiever is that he or she has the opportunity to show off their skill and hold elite status to others. They value the competition from other achievers, and look to the socializers to give them praise. As they achieve more, they are no longer easy targets of the killers and may enjoy their new position on the food chain. These gamers also tend to like seeing their usernames at the top of scoreboards and ladder systems. Many games cater to these players by offering special titles or exclusive mounts or other in-game items to those that place in the top of the competitive ladder. Microsoft's Xbox Live utilizes the gamer score to reward achievers, who can get points by completing difficult achievements in the various games they purchase. They can, in turn, compare themselves to other gamers from around the world. In many ways, the achiever is the style of play most targeted by the MMORPG genre. In many successful MMOs, there is always something else to achieve. Even when the character has reached the highest level, there are usually rare items to obtain and objectives that were bypassed the first time around. Since achievers can sometimes set very obscure goals for themselves, especially if they feel like they'll be the first to achieve them, they may spend long periods of time engaging in a repetitive action in order to get one more award. Explorers, dubbed spades for their tendency to dig around, are players who prefer discovering areas, creating maps and learning about hidden places. They often feel restricted when a game expects them to move on within a certain time, as that does not allow them to look around at their own pace. They find great joy in discovering an unknown glitch or a hidden Easter egg. Single-player appeal to the explorer equals, combat and gaining levels or points is secondary to the explorer, so they traditionally flock to games such as Myst and its 4 sequels. In these games, you find yourself in a strange place, and the objective is to find your way out by paying close attention to detail and solving puzzles. The explorer will often enrich themselves in any backstory or lore they can find about the people and places in-game. Whereas an achiever may forget about previous games as soon as they've conquered them, the explorer will retain rich memories about what they experienced about their adventures. Contrary to what some may expect, explorers can enjoy restrictive games as well as permissive ones. The challenge in such a game is to get it to do something its programmers probably didn't intend for it to do. Gamers who share a high explorer percentage with a high achiever one will often be the ones who set unusual objectives for themselves to put the tricks they've gathered to use. Multiplayer appeal to the explorer. The explorer benefits much the same way as the achiever does in the massively multiplayer environment, as they are surrounded by people who will benefit from their wisdom. They often meet other explorers and can swap experiences, and most often, socializers do not mind listening either. Interaction with killers is usually negative, as hostile killers would interfere with exploration. Most mainstream MMORPGs offer explorers plenty of lore and rich characters to delve into. However, explorers will often quickly become bored with any particular MMORPG when they feel it has become a chore to play, with only more of the same ahead. This is of course true to some extent of all gamers, but explorers can be notoriously fickle, abandoning a popular game within mere weeks while spending months or years delving deeply into a less popular one. Socializers. There are a multitude of gamers who choose to play games for the social aspect, rather than the actual game itself. These players are known as socializers or hearts. They gain the most enjoyment from a game by interacting with other players, and on some occasions, computer-controlled characters with personality. The game is merely a tool they use to meet others in-game or outside of it. Single-player appeal to the socializer. Since their objective is not so much to win or explore as it is to be social, there are few games that the socializer enjoy based on their merits. Instead, they play some of the more popular games so that they can use their experience to socialize with others who have played them, or use the multiplayer features. However, there are some games designed with their playstyle in mind. Additionally, some single-player games have a strong community around them. Examples of single-player games where players use the forums to post pictures of what they've created and share experiences include Cities Skylines, SimCity 4, and Dwarf Fortress. Multiplayer appeal to the socializer. The online environment is very appealing to the socializer, as it provides near-limitless potential for new relationships. Socializers start filling up their friend lists as soon as they start meeting people, and get to know them better through private messages and sometimes even voice chat. They take full advantage of the ability to join guilds or kinships in many online games, and form fast friendships and try to help other people out. They are compatible with just about everyone. Even killers will often get along with the more respectable socializers, and the more dramatic socializers thrive symbiotically on the chaos created by some killers. Eventually, they will most likely be a well-known name on their particular server either for the services they provide, or for the drama they are involved in. Killers Clubs is a very accurate moniker for what the killer likes to do. They thrive on competition with other players, and prefer fighting them to scripted computer-controlled opponents. Single-player appeal to the killer. These gamers love to sow destruction, so games that are high in carnage, action, and destructible environments are definitely a plus. Many of these gamers also enjoy the opportunity to depart from the norm of being the good guy, who comes to save the day. Instead, they will play on the side of evil or conquest. On the flip side, killers also represent the archetype which is most interested in affecting their environment, so sandbox games in which they can take a direct hand in building a virtual society will appeal to them as well. Multiplayer appeal to the killer. Causing mayhem among computer-controlled people and things may be fun to the killer, but nothing amounts to the joy of pitting one's skills against an actual player-controlled opponent. For most, the joy of being a killer results from a friendly competitive spirit. They're in it for the sport, trying to read their opponent's moves and generally acting with honor. For others, it's more about power and the ability to hurt others or the thrill of the hunt. One such example is ganking, or owning, a process where the killer takes their strong character to a place where inexperienced or weaker characters reside, and proceeds to kill them repeatedly. Once a killer finds a weaker character, it becomes increasingly enjoyable to hunt this character, stalking him through different zones. Repeatedly stalking and killing a weaker player adds a thrill of a certain type well described in the novel The Most Dangerous Game. Once stronger enemy players arrive to help, the killer either waits patiently or stealthily sneaks somewhere else to repeat the process. These killers love to have the notoriety of being someone that should be watched out for, or even better, someone to be killed on sight. In other contexts, killers are also active in the social and economic sides of a multiplayer game. Market control appeals strongly to killers, many of whom have a natural talent for reading markets. Social killers tend to be online community liaders seguro, or trolls. Many make the mistake of thinking killers are antisocial or without friends, but this isn't too often the case. Even the more hostile and aggressive killers can inspire a sort of hero worship by less talented killers or achievers. And some killers are nice people who simply thrive on competition. In either case, a bored killer can be a threat to the community, as their natural drive to compete and sometimes abrasive attitude will push them to stir up trouble even when they don't really mean to. Application: in addition to helping players define their game playing preferences, the Bartle test has also been used by game designers to help define the requirements of games that are intended to appeal to a particular audience. History: in 2006, after running for 10 years on a web server maintained by Erwin Andreessen, the database met with intractable scalability problems. After several months, the test was rewritten and moved to GamerDNA servers, preserving all the original test data. Expanded categories: Richard Bartle also created a version of his player types model that included a third axis of implicit-explicit, leading to 8 player types. Achievers, planner, opportunist, explorers, scientist, hacker, socializers, networker, friend, killers, politician/den mothers, griefer. According to Bartle, the 4-part version is easy to draw because it's 2D, but the 8-part one is 3D. It's therefore much harder to draw in such a way as it doesn't collapse in a mass of lines. There is no known online test based on this model. Criticism: Bartle's divisions provide a foundation for investigating gamer psychology. However, subsequent studies have noted certain limitations. For example, Nicky has argued that a component framework provides more explanatory power than a category framework. Bartle's motivation factors were analyzed for correlation by factorial analysis based on a sample of 7,000 MMO players. One of the results was that the Bartle's explorer type didn't appear, and more importantly its subfactors exploring the world and analyzing the game mechanics didn't correlate. John Radoff has proposed a new 4-quadrant model of player motivations that has a goal of combining simplicity along with the major motivational elements that apply to all games. See also, GNS theory. References. External links: Bartle Test of Gamer Psychology, the test itself, maintained at GamerDNA.